Now I want you to ask yourself, how would your life change if you won the lottery or a lot of money? You might say, well, I would feel joyful. I would be happy. I would be so excited. It would just change my life and I would be happy forever. Well, let me tell you something that a lot of studies have shown that usually that happiness lasts about a year. Yes, a year. So you get this boost of happiness, boost of excitement, and then about a year later, your state is actually the same as you were before. And it's the same thing with even like amputations. Somebody that is an amputee, usually their level of happiness actually correlates back to where they were a year before the amputation. So our state tends to be pretty flatline, meaning that we're pretty stable in that regard. But money can also open up doors to a larger degree. So what would it mean to your life? What would it mean to your reality? And obviously you're going to have worksheet activities where you're going to get to explore this, because many fear money, just as bad things in their life, and fear the failure or losing. So you may not necessarily fear failure. You may not necessarily fear having money. You may not fear losing things. But there's another thing that happens, which is the fear of success. And a lot of times it's been shown that fear of success can be just as drastic and can just be just as dominant as fear of failure. Why? Because we tend to self-sabotage with the fear of actually succeeding. There's been people like even Mike Tyson, when he won his millions of dollars, what did he do to celebrate? Part of it, he drove his car and tried to commit suicide. Why? Because there's a fear of that change of success. Because that fear of how would our life be? What are some of the changes, accommodations that I have to make? So think about it. What would be some of the negative effects of you winning the lottery or getting a lot of money? You might say, well, there's really no negative effects, but really think about it. Because those are the things that will block you from actually attaining the money that you want or attaining success to a larger degree. It might be that drama, an addiction of drama, because financial struggles, like I said in the other video, creates this drama cycle in your life, which then we get addicted to it. It might be that it helps us connect to other people. It might help us relate to other people because we all connect through struggle, through celebration of that struggle. Well, not really celebration, but it's a celebration because we're all talking about the same things. We're all connecting in our own misery of that struggle. Or maybe we get all fired up talking about our struggles. So that fired up drives us to keep that because it gives us an identity of who we are. But again, relationships a lot of times are created and maintained by our similarities. So even the change in our perception of our similarities can make a big difference. So I'll give you some examples in my own life, but before I do that, at a practical level, you may grow your business, but may not grow your finances if you have fear of success and the changes that it can have in you. For example, my own experience, I had to do some self-reflection. I experienced success when I saw how my father was successful part of his life financially, but that point in his life, he was traveling all the time. I rarely saw him. He wasn't there with his family for the most part. He was working ridiculous hours every day, but he was making money, but he was struggling in that sense. And obviously that impacted my reality because I moved away with my mom and him got divorced and stuff like that. So I always associated, which I didn't know at the time, but I associated success with seeing my dad's success and what that created in my life. I didn't want that as a father. I didn't want that in my family. I wanted to be part of my family. I wanted to see the stepping stones of my family. But that is the association that I had with that success. Another aspect that I had to work with was that I had to change that illusion that I had created with my definition of success. There's another time that I really reflected on what it would mean to really become a multimillionaire. And that's when I played the lottery for $250 million, which is a lot of money. So I thought about that. I played the lotto. And as I was waiting for those numbers, I looked at my wife and said, I'm not even sure if I want to win $250 million. And most people say, why wouldn't you? And part of me obviously wants to, or wanted to at the time, but part of me knew that there was something in there. And there's that something in there that you need to reflect on that can change your life and your perception of money. Because you see, that something for me was the honest questions that I had to ask myself is, what impact would it have in my life? Would I feel comfortable and safe traveling to my home in Puerto Rico, my island, to be with my family? If people knew that I had all this money? Would I feel the same way as far as the way that people viewed me? Could I connect with people at the same level if they knew I had this money? What would my relationship be with them? Would I be able to, if it made the media and the news that I had that much money, would I be able to live a common life? To go to the mall and do this and have the same friends and relationships and do the same things I was doing? So I had to dig deep and see my limited thought process to be able to stop me from having that process that would hold me back from wanting that much money. And obviously, creating it would have been different in my mind than even winning it. So I had to assess that situation, why it would be different for me in that. So what I want you to do is have honest questions with yourself. Because the more honest you can be, the better you will be at creating what you want to create. To let go of that unconscious fears of success, the fears of what that money would be. For example, ask yourself, what are 3 positive, drastic changes it would have in my life if I won the money or came about having a lot of money? And then ask yourself, what are 3 negative consequences? What are some of those deep fears of success that I might have? What does it mean? May it mean that I have to possibly change or leave my current relationship? Would it mean that I might not be able to connect to the same level, at least what I think of, to my friends and families? Would it mean that I would change my living environment, what I'm used to, what I'm comfortable with? Would it mean that I would have to kind of reflect on what is my purpose, because now I'm no longer having to work and now I can just do whatever I want, so I would have to discover who I am? What would it mean to you? What are those fears that you might have? Does it mean that you haven't been dealing with things and now you'd have to face them? So ask yourself, what benefits do you have to not having money or not having the abundance you want to create? Because you might have circumstances that limit you to wanting to change. So ask yourself, what circumstances may change that I'm not ready to change? What circumstances might I have to confront that I'm not ready to confront, I'm not ready to deal with? Because I'm holding on to this identity of who I am by holding on to this lack. Because if you're able to let go of those things and embrace your success, and I've met and I've worked with many people that are very successful and people that are just starting out, that they hit a certain plateau and then they sabotage themselves. Why? Because they're not ready for that next step. There's circumstances that they are not ready to change. There's circumstances that they are not ready to embrace. So ask yourself, do you have any of those? And if you do, what are they? Because once you figure that out, you can quantum leap your life and quantum leap your business in many ways. Thank you.